Welcome to Relationship Growth, the podcast that teaches you the skills to keep a healthy relationship. Finding love is one thing, keeping it alive is another. Whether you want to bring the spark back or you're looking for that partner you can build a lifelong bond with, this show is for you. Here you'll learn to communicate the real thing, lead your relationship, and build long-term love without losing your identity or independence. I'm your host, Lilly Rachels, and I'll show you how to create a relationship you don't just stay in, you grow in. Welcome back to Relationship Growth. Today I want to talk to you about why the thing that is bothering you and the thing that you're arguing about in your relationship is likely linked to things that happened earlier on. And I'm going to give two client examples as I go through this. So the first example I have is I have a client who came to me to deal with anger and rage and just living in a constant state of fight in his nervous system. And what would happen is he would have any sort of little critique, little criticism from his wife or somebody else, but typically from his wife. And he'd fly off the handle because it just felt like to him, like, I just can't please you. I can't do anything right. It's never enough for you. And as we started to slow it down and pull it apart, he was able to see how it wasn't about the thing in the moment that was being critiqued. It was the thing in the moment and how it was linked to all these things that had happened to him when he was younger, to him in his younger adulthood, to him well before he even got married. And I thought it was just a good point to bring up because so often we get frustrated with our partner, not realizing that it's not what's happening between you and your wife. It's not what's happening between you and your girlfriend. It's all those things that happened before that are hitting up on that same wound. So in somatic work, we use this model called the stream of life. And I love this. It's such a great visual. Imagine your life is this stream. It's your nervous system. Your nervous system is a stream. When something happens that is traumatic, whether it happened in early childhood or later in life, and the definition of trauma being something that was too much, too fast, or too soon for your body to properly regulate. So this could be something that you may consider a big T trauma, experiencing a sexual assault, experiencing a really bad, horrific car accident. It could be something like that, or it could be like a little T trauma, right? Being picked last for the team. It could be always walking on eggshells at home because mom was just really defensive and you felt like you could never please her. So whatever it was for you, I want you to think of these things as branches and boulders that get thrown into your stream of life. And as we know, when there's a boulder in a stream, as the water starts to flow down the stream and it comes to that boulder, it starts to change the way the water moves. So the water starts to turn. And we call this in somatic work the trauma vortex. And this is what we get stuck in a lot. Like that client of mine who would hear that little critique. As that water's coming down, he hears that little critique. It's bumping up against that wound, that deeper issue, and maybe even a few branches along the way, right? And so he gets stuck in this cycle, which in his case put him into a state of survival, fight in particular, feeling this rage come on, whether it was projected out or suppressed and projected, internally towards himself because he couldn't stand the way he was acting. But he wasn't realizing that it wasn't just the thing in the moment, right? It was that thing that had happened in the past or those things that had happened in the past. So in somatic work, what we do as somatic practitioners is we bring in what's called the counter vortex, what's called safety in your nervous system. And then we pendulate between the two. We go into the activation, we go into safety, and we go back and forth. And over time, this counter vortex overtakes the trauma vortex and we get the boulder out. And that is how we truly renegotiate what's happening in your system. But what tends to happen is we just relive these cycles over and over again in relationships, not understanding that the fight isn't necessarily with the person in front of you. It's with all the things that happened earlier on that were too much, too fast, or too soon for your body to properly regulate and for you to deal with. And this is why you can do all of the cognitive work in the world. You can have a killer mindset. You can have a high level of self-awareness. You can use all the logic and reason, but still fly off the handle when you get triggered. Because the trauma, the experience, these things that happen, they don't just live in our head, they live in our body and they live in our nervous system. And so we need to address that root cause and get the boulder out in order for the stream to flow. And another client, something that came up recently, we were talking about something, and I was having him go into his body, bringing in the nervous system, having him notice something in his body. And I asked him in session, as he was noticing a lot of tension in his chest, and he noticed that this tension was really like spreading, and I was like, I'm curious, is there any kind of image or memory here? And he was like, yeah, there is. And I was like, I'm curious, like, is it a memory when you were younger? What's coming to mind? He's like, yeah, it's this memory of when I was 8. He's like, but I don't really want to talk about it. And I get that a lot when I work with men. It's like, I don't really want to talk about it. And the beauty of nervous system work versus traditional talk therapy is you don't have to. We can work with what's showing up in your body without going into the details. In fact, it's better that way, because that way we're dealing with the response in your nervous system instead of the story created around the response that's happening. And the reason I bring this up to you is I was looking recently at the suicide rates among men. And men are 4 times more likely than women to complete suicide. 75% of suicide deaths are men. And it's the leading killer of men under 45. And this stat should alarm you. More than 60% of the men who died by suicide had accessed mental health services in the year before their death. So these men they're seeking help. The question isn't, well, why aren't men getting help? It's, well, why isn't the help helping? What is it about this traditional therapeutic system that's not serving men? And I truly believe it's the nervous system piece. Now, don't get me wrong. Women need it too. But the reason I want to talk about men in particular here is because I have clients where they don't want to talk about it. And I found that, when it comes to building intimacy in general and bonding, women share. We bond through sharing. We feel good when we share. That's why a group of girls gets together. I love talking to my girls. I talk to a friend every day. Like, we share. Men tend to bond through solving, through fixing. So asking a guy to sit down and just talk about something, it's not having the same effect. Now, I would argue that yes, women need the nervous system work too. But for the purpose of this podcast, I want to hone in on men, because something that I've seen is when we ask men just to talk about something, it can also feel very uncomfortable because society historically has told men to toughen up, to keep it to themselves, put your head down and keep moving forward. And I work with men that have come out of the military, and a lot of them, there is trauma there can be some PTSD there, and they learned to operate through some very difficult things, and they learned to compartmentalize things. And I actually just recently heard a friend talking about this on a podcast about how he had gone to, seek counseling after retiring from the military. And the therapist was asking him about, well, tell me about some of the things you saw over there, like trying to get him to talk about it, right? And what happened is she opened Pandora's box because he did. But the problem is, as he's talking about this and he's finally putting words to these things he saw and experienced, she then said, we're at time. We'll pick this up in 2 weeks. And he was left there with all of this stuff out on the floor. I mean, think about it. It's like going over to someone's house with a box of just stuff and taking everything out and putting it around their house and being like, okay, I'll be back in 2 weeks to help you clean it up. You'd be like, wait, why did you just do that? Why did you just have me open up? Is really dangerous. And it's dangerous for anyone. Talk therapy can be re-traumatizing when we bypass the body, if we're not tracking what's going on in someone's system. Because then we can't tell, are they just able to talk about this? A lot of people can talk about really horrific things that happen to them and seem fine because they're really disassociated from it, right? But they're not fine. We track the nervous system and how to see this so that you can, again, renegotiate. You can pendulate between the two things, like I said earlier, safely. And we can do it slowly. We can do it in a way where those things that are really heavy that you're carrying, you're able to put down. We're not throwing them all over the house and making a mess and time's up. See you in a few weeks. No, we're going slow and we're dealing with them. And the beauty of it is, guys, is you don't have to talk about it in details because I'm going to work with what's going on in your body. And I'm really excited to offer this. I'm doing a I'm doing a free 3-day intensive, December 8, 9, and 10. It's called Undefeated. And in this intensive, we're going to be talking about what it looks like to lead a relationship in this modern age. And we're going to talk about how the losing strategies in conflict come into play in relation to survival responses in your nervous system, and how survival you, that part of you that has these patterns that protected you at some point, isn't serving you, and how strategic you can come in and lead from a place of presence, of being grounded, and create safety so that you can be in a relationship where you feel respected, you feel cared for, you feel nourished, and you're able to provide safety to your partner and lead with love. And in order to do that, we've got to work with the nervous system. And so if that sounds like something that would benefit you, I'd love to have you. Men, you can click the link in the show notes or comment the word lead on any of my Instagram posts. And if you're listening to this and you're like, that sounds like me, there are these little things that happen that I just fly off the handle. Or I've noticed that, when I get frustrated, I get really frustrated. I take it out on my kids. I take it out on my wife. I just feel like I can't have that deep intimacy with her. It's something's blocking it. It's not there. Or maybe we're living like roommates. We're so cold to each other. I can't connect. If any of those things resonate with you, please reach out to me at support@lillyrachels.com, because I would love to chat with you about what it could look like to deal with those things, not from a talk therapy standpoint. Yes, we will talk, but not from that traditional standpoint, but from working with your nervous system and getting those boulders out of your stream so you're no longer bumping up against them in your relationships. If that sounds like something you need, send me an email. Thank you for listening to Relationship Growth. If you enjoyed this episode and you're a fan of the show, please subscribe and leave us a review. If you'd like to connect, you can join me over on Substack or follow me on Instagram @LillyRachels. Let's build love that grows.